What's up, guys? Welcome back to Let's Play Bioshock Infinite! We have finally arrived at the Hall of Heroes, where apparently the Shock Jockey is, even though it seems like we're going really out of our way to get it. Yeah, I remember in Bioshock 1 when the Electrobolt was the very first plasma that we got. Such is not the case with the Shock Jockey. We have to go through an entire level just to get this thing. And this is a pretty long level, too. This takes up a lengthy portion of the game. But this game is very long, so we'll have time for everything else later on. As I said at the end of the last video, I just picked up the sniper rifle. I've not had a chance to demonstrate it yet, but I'll be doing that in this video. And I now have one of my go-to setups for this game, and I'll be talking about that here in a second.
When our work is done, Cornelius Slate, the swift left hook of the Vox Populi. We'll be trading Comstock's life for a new one. So be it. The Fitzroy woman and I are comrades of necessity. I doubt all the men who reddened Caesar's toga would still be seen breaking bread together in peacetime. With Comstock gone, my men's past deeds will be sacred, and they will claim the spoils due them. I need not live to see it.
Alright, so a couple guys showed up here after we went into that room, and I took them out with the sniper rifle. That was a quick demonstration of what it can do with the scope. Now you're going to see what it can do without.
That man did not lead the 7th. Hell, I don't even remember the guy.
Corporal DeWitt proved his worth on the field that day.
Well, I'll be.
Slate? Is that you?
You've always been different, haven't you, Booker? You crave no glory.
Look, I see you're caught up in some kind of jam here. If you could see fit to let us through to where they keep the Shock Jockey, then we'll...
That tin soldier, Comstock, once my boy's dead. We won't die at
It
his
sounds like Booker and this Slate guy know each other quite well. And it seems like Slate has quite a discrepancy with the legacy that's being put on display here for us all to see. He's going to send in a squad of guys to attack us. These guys are different than the founders we've been fighting before. They're a bunch of, like, loyalist soldiers to Slate, I guess, and they all have these like military uniforms on. They're essentially the same guys, though. They're not any higher on the difficulty tier list. They just have like kind of the uniforms that he does. Now, Elizabeth there tossed us some ammo, and that helped us quite a bit there, because this thing does run out of ammo fast, but this is one of my go-to setups for this game. As you can see, I can get very accurate shots with this thing without zooming in. The spread is not bad at all, and you can easily, pop off headshots with this thing and get instant kills with it that way, and it's very powerful, and I like it for that reason. This is one of my favorite combinations in the game. There's four weapons that are essentially my go-to weapons I'm going to be trying to upgrade in this game. I will use plenty of others. I'll use every weapon in the game at least once, but I will be mixing things up too. Like, I won't have the same 2 out of the 4. And I don't really consider any combination of these 4 to be superior. One is going to be a precision weapon, the other one's going to be an explosive splash damage weapon. And I'm going to have one of each of either of the 2. It can be any combination. 2 of these have not come up yet, but the 2 that I have right now are the sniper rifle and the RPG. Which seems like really dumb if you think about other FPS games that feature these weapons. Like if this was Halo, for instance, as I've been making quite a lot of parallels to recently. Considering this is a 2-weapon system game, you would think, oh, that's very nonsensical for you to have the sniper rifle that runs out of ammo very fast and the rocket launcher that runs out of ammo very fast at the same time. But the fact that Elizabeth tosses you ammo all the time makes it a lot easier to keep up with it, because, like I said, it's on a cooldown, and if you're lucky enough in the middle of a firefight when you run low on ammo, it'll trigger her to toss you a whole new magazine, which is great. And she can do it for either weapon. I mean, it's kind of unreliable for it to depend on her to pick one or the other. But for replenishing her ammo, it's very good for that reason. You will continue to get more ammo for this thing as you go as well. Like, I'll be upgrading the damage that it does, and I'll be buying ammo for it at vending machines whenever I get low. I'll never really run into an instance where I'm completely out of ammo for either of the 2 precision weapons I'm going to have throughout the game.
You were there.
This doesn't look like the kind of heroes that you tell your children about.
See it in your face.
Certainly not the kind they depict in those comic books either.
Tell her how we strode that battlefield like the heroes of Sparta. I still hear the screams. Let's come, Stock.
Remember what we fight for!
Here's the soldier I spoke.
Battle of Wounded Knee, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, Booker was there, and he doesn't recall Comstock being there, but according to this, he was here. Slate must know the true story, however. He's going to send another... We basically have to defend this point until the guys are gone. He'll send a encounter at us. And I'm going to be using some vigor combos here in combination with the sniper rifle, the Murder of Crows to disable them, and also the Bucking Bronco. The Bucking Bronco, like I said before in the last video, does make enemies more susceptible to damage slightly. So we can one-shot these guys, even with a normal body shot with the sniper rifle if they're under the effects of... I am missing this guy horribly. If they're under the effects of Bucking Bronco, I can one-shot these guys out of the air and they'll just plummet to the ground immediately. Missed that guy, but you're gonna see in this video a lot of the chain explosion effects from one of the vigors that I have. I'm sorry, one of the gear pieces that I have is gonna be chaining all these explosions together. That's very good for the rocket launcher here. As you can see, after that one, there was a few like Devil's Kiss-ish bombs that blew up around him, and that's part of that gear's ability. We now have enough firepower to easily deal with the Zealot that appears in this encounter. And Bucking Bronco, like I said in the previous video, easily immobilizes him. We can just snipe him right out of the air. It would normally take 2 body shots to kill a normal enemy at this tier of difficulty at this point in the game with the sniper rifle at this damage level. But if I get a headshot, obviously it just takes 1 shot, and then depending on what type of enemy it is. Later on in the game, when the damage modifiers change, when we get to the higher tier enemies, it'll take more shots, but I'll be upgrading the damage output in this thing as well to balance that, so it'll all work out. Now, in that sense, how the enemies do scale in toughness as the levels go on, very much how they did in the previous Bioshock games. But your character progression is very different than it was in the previous Bioshock games. So you're not constantly hunting for Adam to increase your damage output and that kind of thing. And you don't feel like there's as much of a need for that. In fact, I went through the entire game in this on 1999 mode my first time through without purchasing any upgrades. So I wouldn't be getting any damage upgrades for these weapons to balance that out. The enemies would just be harder, and that's all there is to it. In this room, we get another gear, and I ended up getting Nitro Vest, which is pretty good. I'm actually going to be equipping that. I really do like increasing the splash damage radius, especially when I'm using the RPG here. And the other splash damage weapon I'm going to be using for my go-to later in the game is also going to highly benefit from that. In both of these displays here, Booker just said we got ahead of the other display. Both of these displays for all these heroic events, quote unquote, even though they're really a bunch of horrible racist slaughters, both of them still have these storage rooms behind them. And these enemies are random here. This is a random spawn of enemies that come in through this encounter. They're not sent in scripted. But I got a quick headshot on that guy. Finished off the other guy with a rocket. These dollar bill vending machines, though, will sell sniper rifle ammo and rocket launcher ammo. So if we're running low, I'm just going to go ahead and replenish. I'm just making sure not to buy too much. And that I can still afford my respawn if I happen to die. You don't want to get too low on money in 1999 mode, of course. Because, you know, really the game does punish you for dying, and it may seem like it doesn't, but it definitely does on 1999 mode, because you really can't recover the same steam from that encounter as you did the second time as you did the first.
That's not how Comstock tells it.
Wow. This is a really cool display. It's very pretty. Alright, I got good luck with this drop. This is one of my favorite pieces of gear in the game. This is part of my go-to setup if I had a choice of what I could pick for my gear. This is Storm, and it increases... if you use certain vigors, it has a small % chance of causing them to change their effects to change to nearby enemies. And it's actually really good because with Devil's Kiss, Bucking Bronco, and Shock Jockey are some examples of ones that are benefited by this. And you can... I'll be demonstrating it when I finally get Shock Jockey. You can cast it on an enemy and it will chain to other enemies, and it's really good.
Was yellow skin and slanted eyes that did betray us with their lies, until they crossed the righteous path of our prophet's holy wrath.
How does Comstock justify all these atrocities? I gotta say, this is a very visually beautiful part of the game, even though I think it's beautiful because it's visually impressive because it's implied that it is all a display. It's all there for show. So the presentation for it comes off, you know, it's all deliberate.
Fireman!
Alright, I'm taking cover over here immediately because these guys are going to come up on that watchtower up there, and there's going to be a fireman in this encounter. Each of these two encounters of these two displays have a like a heavy enemy, so to speak. There, this guy's up on top of the statue of Comstock there. We should be able to take out that fireman no problem, though, if I can keep on him with or not. We could just die. This can happen. Luckily, the game is generous enough to give us a sniper rifle up there if we needed more ammo, but I think I might have already wasted it. The only problem with restarting this encounter once you've died is that now the enemies have no idea where you are, and it's a relatively small room for this engagement, so it's we kind of have an unfair advantage against them when they have no idea where we are now. Yeah, we lit those guys up pretty bad. Despite being immune to fire damage, the fireman there still takes a fair amount of damage from the rocket launcher for some reason, so that's pretty great. Alright, we triggered his suicide attack there and managed to kill him before he moved close to us. I don't think that attack ever gets me here in the Let's Play on 1999 mode. Hopefully not.
You did them a favor, Booker.
Go up here and get some salts before we move on.
I didn't ask for this. I have no quarrel with these men.
Heroes never ask.
I never claimed to be no hero.
And what are you? If you take away all the parts of Booker,
Alright, we're almost done. This is a pretty cool statue of Comstock here. He's holding a giant revolver.
come back to the
You may see, I think I mentioned, may have mentioned in the last video, there, because this is a military sort of area, there's a lot of rations laying around, and they increase your health by a lot if you're low in health, so it's a nice little pickup there if you see one.
Yours, you might realize cages have their advantages.
Another random encounter with two more guys that have spawned into the entrance room here.
Yeah. What if you
Again, the game still trying to be Bioshock when it's not, and there's a good example of just how awesome this sniper rifle is. God, I love this thing. I'm never going to stop using it. And there's some even, I mean, don't get me wrong, the LP curse still hits me hard in this game, so there's going to be a lot of times where I just absolutely miss everything I see. But I'm going to be giving it my all nonetheless, and there's going to be some better opportunities to get out some really impressive shots later in the game too. Like, I guess I spoke too soon, and the LP curse is already affecting me with these guys. Could have always picked up that guy's shotgun and dropped it again. Alright, now we're moving on to the third and final display, the Memorial to Lady Comstock, where we're going to get a lot of backstory and exposition, actually.
Perfect
Thanks,
timing.
Elizabeth. As always. This is really beautiful.
The seed of the prophet lay in the womb of Our Lady, but for a single week. Comstock had a child. My books never mention anything about a child.
That's quite an omission. Can't imagine that was by accident.
The child took ill, and Our Lady prayed for the prophet's heir day and night. That's my tower.
Lo, while Daisy Fitzroy has murdered my beloved, she shall not have the child. She shall not come betwixt her and prophecy.
The seed of the prophet shall sit the throne and drown in flame the mountains of man.
You're Comstock's daughter.
No, I can't be. I can't.
He wants you to follow in his footsteps.
Well, I want a puppy, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna get one.
I absolutely love that line.
From those lockpicking skills.
Wow, Elizabeth. You know what? When we get to Paris, how about I get you a puppy? And you'll be happy, right? No, yeah, I guess that's the reveal is... We suspect at this point that Elizabeth is Comstock's daughter, which would make a lot of sense, considering why he had her locked up in there.
To those who loved me, I was the most generous of souls. There was no pain I would deny them, no betrayal I would not gladly give. And when I had scorched the hearts of all who loved me, the prophet said, "There is nothing you can do for which I will not forgive you. For God has granted me sight, and through his eyes, even you are loved."
So that's the origin of the Vox, I guess. You know, the Vox, led by Daisy Fitzroy, killed Lady Comstock.